Thomas, 5 minutes ago, uploaded the new Sandersides video, and I'm freaking out. I had to look up what the word Redux meant. It means something that comes back. Now we all know. Before I watch any of this, first of all, I wanted to comment on the thumbnail, because there's a little space, like, there's the choose your sides, and it has all the sides, and there's just space where there's not a side yet. I wanted, before I watch the video, to talk about the theories that I have, to see if I'm right. It'll be fun. And I personally do not think the new side will be introduced this episode. In the last long episode, like, the episode that wasn't a sides, we just got a new side. One thing that I want to happen is to get more information about why Deceit acted the way he did in Selfishness versus Selflessness, the first one, because I personally think it doesn't make sense to me why he made it, like, why he would frame it as, like, Thomas is guilty of wanting to go to the callback, because people don't like feeling guilty. And, like, and if you're in a court of law, which is the scenario he chose, then if you're proven guilty, you don't get what you want. Like, you get punished. Like, it seems like he should have predicted that outcome. So, a person on Tumblr that I follow, named Fandoms, has been talking about this a lot and is making me think about it a lot. And basically the theory is that Deceit did all those, like, framed it that way in a way that doesn't entirely make sense, because he was trying to lose. And he was trying to lose, so basically to prove that he's, like, a useful / necessary part of Thomas. So how this works is that he frames it as Thomas is guilty, and he makes it so he basically can't get what he wants, because he knows that Thomas wants to be a good person. So if he frames it as Thomas is guilty, then he'll choose the thing that makes him feel like a good person, even if it's not necessarily true that going to the callback, it makes him guilty of being a bad person. He frames it like that intentionally, so he'll lose. And then, in the next episode, he releases Remus, which I think is the piece of information, maybe, that we need for this episode. Because someone, I think it was Jones, said that this two-parter was supposed to be originally going to be back-to-back, but then instead they needed to put dealing with intrusive thoughts in the middle, because there's some piece of information that needed to be in there. And it's definitely either Virgil's a dark side, or an other side, or Remus exists. Maybe it's Remus exists, because what Deceit, anyway, that was a tangent, he's trying to do is, like, show Thomas, like, look, if you don't listen to me sometimes, like, you end up in this situation where you're deeply unhappy at a wedding you don't want to be at, and you spent hours agonizing over whether you should do that when it could have been really easy. We could have just lied. I could have just lied and you would be happy and Remus wouldn't be here. And so I think maybe that's what Deceit's trying to do. But I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm just like, Deceit, what are you trying to do? I don't understand. So I'm hoping that either that's proved right in this, or maybe subsequent episodes, or there's more, like, we get something from Deceit. I know it's a Roman versus Patton episode, but I'm hoping we get something from Deceit that, like, explains what's going on there. Anyway, other than that, I'm not really sure I have any predictions for what's gonna happen. I don't know. Without further ado, I've been talking for 9 minutes. Let's watch. I'm so nervous. Oh, buddy!
I'm sorry for calling you beautiful. You could call me beautiful, Mary Lee. I always do beautiful.
Oof. Oh my word. Oh. Oh, oof. I love that.
I have friends, Patton.
Oof.
Wait, you're
talking about
this
your
is the
friends.
problem
I always thought
with
that
the
when it
credits,
came to your...
is that I always want to read them, but I also want to pay attention to what's going on, because I just saw, ooh, Aaron did illustrations. Gotta tell myself, I can read those at the end. I should pay attention to what people are saying now. But Connor did scoring.
Let's do. Thank you. I hope we rhyme like this.
Wait, is this the song that doesn't have singing?
Let's
It's the song.
the fact that the wedding was a total bust. It was. It was. It's just that going didn't pay off quite like we discussed. You mustn't think that going the way a groom might feel they just watched as his bride ran away. But you're again. I'm saying if I made the right wedding feeling, quit reviewing. Okay. Boy, how could such an upsetting conversation happen in such a fun way? Oh, why didn't... I see. We should start looking into ways to predict the future! No.
Yes.
Very good. What I'm saying is I know Lee and Mary Lee. Blindfold on. But in Patton's defense, people are complicated, fickle things, aren't they? You think you know someone and then wham! Out of nowhere, they fill your apartment with feral cats, and now you're somehow responsible for the vet bills? You've got to give them away, but despite your cat allergy, you've endeared yourself to them, especially to Mrs. Sniffles. More like Mrs. Sniffles, because of the allergy.
Did this happen?
And they feel guilty seeing you there because
Oof.
Talking to them about it could have been harmful. And this was our chance to be... It was a good ending to get. I'm pretty sure there was. He's a jolly good fellow.
I mean, sure, yeah.
Which nobody can dance. It's just this. A bagel? What?
A bagel?
No.
A donut?
No, nothing. It's nothing. Oh, sometimes you can't get anything because a lot stop where you can buy games. A game store. You mean the internet? I'm not going outside. Oh, come on, Roman. Video games mean so much indoor time that they should cost her for the latest installment in the Frogger franchise. You're such a dad. But Frogger's not really a big thing anymore. And they're missing out. There is no video game character as cool as life. Talk about riveting. Like, you're such a dad that it's too much to handle sometimes. Anyway, everyone's raving about the new Frogger. Best mix. At least 16 graphics.
So
Do you even know what you're saying right now? And, oh, yay! It's on sale for about, I don't know, as much as a hot dog is worth. That's how much you get when you return a game. You have just enough money to buy it, but as you walk up to the door, you're stopped by a homeless, down-on-his-luck actor. And who isn't? Whoever you want.
That was the
this person if he has no one to visualize. Alrighty, it's Leslie Odom Jr. What? Why Leslie? I need backstory for this. What happened, Pat? I don't know. He spilled his drink on Steven's song. 6 a.m. dull.
And you don't have enough money for 2 hot dogs?
For you. So you weren't quite able to get out of bed until like 6:08. Well, regardless. So you mustered up the will to give him a dinner that he could relish.
So many puns.
When he takes the hot dog, he walks away without thanking you. What do you do now? Do you say, you're ignorant? Oh, I've got this one, guys.
Roman!
I'm just Austin, the act. Oh, lost all that. Okay. Americans spend more than $20 billion. Really said the opposite to deceit when we were back in the courtroom. Yeah, I did. But we all agree.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute.
What do you think?
I just had a panic moment of realizing that I haven't been paying attention to their costumes, and because every time Deceit has appeared, I haven't realized for like ages. Like, it takes me a really long time to realize, and I just had a panic moment of being like, it's Deceit. But Roman's outfit looks right.
Well, I think we all know I'm not exactly an expert in the...
So does Patton's.
...moral medium. I don't know. Leslie Odom Jr. Guess old Sondheim couldn't keep him down. Yeah, that's right. From homeless and royalty's kingdom, from the
hey, is that Remus? Or not Remus?
Tyrant who is
there he is.
Occupying said thing that everyone was saved. Wow, Patton, way to be a side with valid.
They're trying so hard not to insult one another. This is so different than other Versus episodes where they're just mad. This is so funny. They're trying so hard to be like, your viewpoint is valid, but also I hate it.
They just want to earn some reward. That doesn't sound like a very good person to me.
But they still did a good
Yeah,
thing.
probably not. Fair enough, but I
So
wouldn't even
maybe
argue
you can-
for that much. Saving people for a reward is... Am I not allowed to feel good if I do something good? Of course you are. A person. So that rule trumps the other rule. Roman! You know we don't like to use the T word in this house. Oh, sorry. So, the rule about not hurting. I think I understand.
Roman?
Your desires are getting in the way.
No, Roman!
The problem is, in all honesty, that you want me. If you're missing
Roman.
that do-gooder drive, I think it's because I'm in the driver's seat.
Oh.
And I'm an awful driver.
Oh, Roman.
Roman,
Oh, Patton.
I only mean well when I say that that is the stupidest thing you have ever said. Oh, Thomas. You're just blowing smoke. Really, Roman? It's the opposite.
Roman is so...
I need you on my team. Side more helpful than you.
Wait a minute. I just realized, like, Logan's gave a reason for why he's not here. But usually Virgil's... Is he still gone because... Because when he... Does he think Thomas is mad at him? Because of him saying he was one of them? Is he avoiding Thomas?
The instructions on a flight. Easy and very dangerous. In the event that a plane cabin becomes too much, leading to hypoxia, which is just insufficient oxygen for life function. Yeah, Logan, like you said earlier, this isn't really your area of expertise.
No, let him
never said
talk.
Thomas couldn't help himself,
Let him
especially in a
talk.
situation activity engaged in during free time, which people want to do and actually do in either a satisfying or fulfilling way, or both. Leisure means
What
experiencing
I'm doing right
freedom.
now.
It's your time and you...
Which is great. Because like I said, I don't feel good. And it's helping me feel better. Thanks, Thomas. And literally everyone else. Like the bazillion people who worked on this video and made it so cool. I really like the video games. They would be so fun for this, like, just all the episodes to be a video game. I really like it. Oh. Oh no! Oh! Oh no!
We do all think of people who lay down their lives for others as the
Oh,
greatest heroes, so I don't know. Should Thomas die so that others may live? Yes.
Oof.
I mean, maybe.
Jesus? Jesus? Thomas is Jesus. Confirmed. Everyone else is gonna come away from this episode with real theories, and I can't think straight right now because I don't feel good. And so my contribution to the episode discourse is gonna be like, Thomas is Jesus. Also, I feel like I'm making it sound like I feel awful. I'm fine. I am fine.
Is there no one else you can feel empathy for?
No.
You're right, Roman.
Only Leslie.
Thomas's life, or Lee and Louise. What do you say, Thomas?
Patton!
It's up to you.
Patton! Patton!
You'll need a sharp side
Oh,
to
there he
cut through
comes.
all this bull.
Is
Frog.
he gonna call on
A
to
sort
see?
of subterfuge specialist. The Lord of the Lies. I'm happy to oblige.
He just called out to see.
Reptilian, rapscallion! We've got a code, yep!
I want deceit to prove to him that I want deceit. I want deceit to prove that he's the necessary part of Thomas. Even though he also sucks sometimes, like a lot. Also, I just really want to be right.
Oh, deceit! What have you done with Luke? Nothing at all, and I resent the question. Hold on! What are you talking about, deceit? Who's misleading who? Patton's...
Wait, hold on. So was Logan deceit the whole time? Wait, no. Hold on.
Alien Rapscallion, we've got a code yellow! Deceit. What have you done to Logan? Nothing at all, and I resent the question. Hold on! What are you...
Hold on. Wait, so was... Frick! I checked Roman and Patton, but I think it was actually Logan! Unless... Wait, I'm really confused.
Never gets old. He didn't miss... It just disguises.
No! Stop hitting Patton!
Patton's not actually suggesting that
He's
Thomas
my
should pursue
baby!
martyrdom. Right, I don't want Thomas to croak. That's my job. We're talking about what ifs, worst case scenario kind of stuff. To give Thomas some room to breathe.
Oh no! No! Oh no! Oh no! Patton!
I really don't know what I'm talking about. I can't not know. Patton, what are you saying? We can still beat him. We've beaten him before. Ow! Sorry, I have not looked in this direction the whole time. Give up now? No. But self-care shouldn't be put off until you experience a mental health crisis.
I would like to second that. Not everything Deceit says is correct. Sometimes he's a slimy boy. But right now, I believe that that is a true statement, and I can say so from experience, because I have, in my life, put off self-care until I was too depressed to function. Don't do that. It's not good for you. It's not, and it doesn't really help anyone else, because then, not that helping anyone else should be the goal of your own self-care, but if you're, like, really depressed and can't do anything, and your mental health is so bad, you're not going to be able to help any people anyway, so you trying to put them first actually failed. I know this because I did it. Don't do it. This has been a PSA. You're welcome.
This. So, in some games, you
wait, that doesn't... That's the... It's Biggs and Boo Boo Luna! And Dance Blinding Rage. It's the short... That's the RPG group from the shorts. I'm so excited I can't even make words go.
In my company. Oh, Logan, Peter Singer is an Australian philosopher and activist who champions the movement known as effective outcry for his friends. He didn't get anything out of it other than a new high score in Word Crush. That's the closest to an almost all things. What do you mean by almost all things? You're right. We wouldn't want to plant too many trees. Just think of all the CO2 that might be absorbed. Huh? You got me there. Well, when is it enough? Trees? No, selfishness! How long must we act selfishly until Thomas is ready to start putting more good into the world? A good question for another time. But I'm sure you'd have us believe that that time will never come. And even if it does, what's to stop you from telling us that we've done enough good for others, when maybe we could do more? Oh, Thomas dropped a dime in the St. Jude charity box. What a good boy you are, Thomas.
This is a good point, actually.
We are no answer to that question. But here's a start.
Easy. Oh my gosh.
My name. My name is Janice.
Janice?
Janice!
Roman! Don't
what are you,
laugh
a
at
middle
him.
school librarian? It's a stupid name.
Roman!
God, you don't, Thomas.
Janice. I feel like someone on Tumblr said
I
something.
thought I was
Wait,
your hero. You are. Wow. I can't believe this. Did you forget that he's evil? You're not. Or you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be good.
He
You
is.
can't, Roman.
Roman.
Everything's gonna be okay, kiddo.
Okay.
We love you.
Roman.
Right.
No, don't leave! Roman! No!
And honest effort to do better, even if that effort is counterproductive. That does sound very annoying. Again, it depends. I guess I know who I need to apologize to. I'm so sorry, Leslie. Just hope today we all learned not to... Thank you, Leslie. Yes, Leslie Odom Jr., everyone. Thank you. Yes, thank you. This is Sandra Sides, not Odom Sides.
Not Odom Sides.
And comes with more mature moral questions.
I love this.
Like I told you before, sometimes...
Deceit isn't the bad guy, he's just making things more nuanced. I love this. So I want Roman to go back. I don't want Roman to be sad. Roman. But also, deceit.
For his morality. You can never not have an answer for him.
Oh, Patton.
And then I promised you I'd keep fighting. Unfortunately, I learned the hard...
So I love this piano music. It's great.
Anything you can to make things right.
Patton, we all know you're doing
Thanks
your
for
best.
trusting me still, kiddo.
You're trying so hard.
I'm gonna go check on Roman.
Please
Before you
do.
go, much more fun forms.
Janet!
Don't
No.
make me regret trusting you. I don't want to be stuck with an evil snake boy. You're not stuck with an evil snake boy. You're just stuck with a snake boy. Oh, brother. But seriously, using a mobile... You're right. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? I couldn't hear you. You're right. Yes! It feels so good!
Janice.
So good! Of your life. Try to find your balance between doing good for others and doing good for yourself. Because finding a universally correct balance between the two is impossible. And sometimes painful. So just trust yourself. Until next time, take it easy, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Peace out. It was like things worked out after all. Guess I was wrong about everything. You and I both know that's not true. I think Odom Sides would be cool. Watch Odom Sides. What is up, everybody? Scary one. I feel like... Okay. Gosh.
That's the end. Oh my gosh. I have to go to dinner. So I'm going to end this recording. I'll probably give some of my post thoughts tomorrow. So I'll be wearing different clothes and I'll chef cut. And it'll be a good time. But wow. That ending was really soft. Why do I love Deceit so much? I think Patton's probably still my favorite. How did my two favorites become the two people who people think are like opposite sides of each other? Hello, I'm back to share my post-episode thoughts. I don't know where to start. You know what, let's start with my predictions. Go over which ones were right. So, my first prediction was that I didn't think we were going to get a new side. That was correct. Yay! 1 point for Abby. My second prediction that Deceit lost the first court episode of this two-parter was complicated in that he lost it on purpose. Completely, totally wrong. But like, the core of my theory was, I'd say, at least kind of right. So, like, I don't think anything in this episode showed that Deceit, or Janice, I can call him Janice now. I don't think anything showed that he intentionally lost the court case, and after I thought about it more, like, his initial plan was to be Logan, so I think the reason that he framed it so poorly was just because it was his backup plan and he kind of had to throw it together really quickly. So that was wrong. But him trying to show that he's like a necessary part of Thomas and not all bad, that was right. That was very right. So that also, I think the piece of information that we needed from dealing with intrusive thoughts, I think I also got that wrong. I think it was actually the whole discussion in dealing with intrusive thoughts where Logan was talking about how Remus's existence isn't necessarily bad. I think that we needed that to set up this episode. So that was also wrong. And I was right that we got something from Janice/Deceit, so yay! Next thing I want to talk about. Also, this is a horrible camera angle. Hold on. Next thing I want to talk about is just the writing. Ugh, I love this series so much. Everyone who has been working on writing this, especially Joan and Adri and Quill and Thomas, you all, like, watching this series grow from like a silly short little videos thing to like something that has like this intricate of character arcs and plot and deals with such difficult moral questions. Oh, it's so good. The attention to detail you all have in your writing is so cool. Like, for example, this is something that's like kind of silly, but it shows that you all like really have an attention to detail, is the bit where the callback to the bagel joke. Like in an earlier episode when Roman was like, what do people like? And Patton's like, bagels! And Roman's like, what? No, maybe. And then in this episode, it's reversed, where Patton's like, sometimes you just get this. And Roman's like, a bagel? And it's like, what? No, no. Like, it's the exact same thing, and it's so funny because it's a callback. And like, I honestly didn't remember that. I had to see it on Tumblr. I'm just like, how did you all like, that's such a close attention to detail. Also, another thing in the writing that like shows an attention to detail is like you can tell the moment that Deceit takes over, or that Janice takes over for Logan, because it's the moment when the yellow and black, so Janice's colors, buttons comes up and Patton pushes it, and then the cane that Janice later has in the episode comes on and yanks Logan off the screen. And since it's Janice's cane, it's like, oh, that's when Janice takes over. Like, that's so cool. That's such a cool detail. I love it. And like, there's so many examples of that. It's so cool. I love that these aren't static characters, especially like when the series first started, it felt a little bit like they were, and now they're like very complex. I'm so invested in all of their arcs. Poor Roman. I'm so sad. I'm worried about Logan too. Because when he was like, oh, you don't care about me, and then Patton tried to be like, what do we do? And he just kept on going. It's like, Logan. Oh, we have to talk about the animation. John and Aaron, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It looks so beautiful. It's the video game aesthetic, so cool. I love it so much. Again, like in these animations, like the attention to detail is cool. I didn't notice the whole the fact that it was Thomas's friends on the train tracks. Oh my gosh. Also, like Patton's inventory, having stuff for Patton Cake and having his costume from the Embarrassing Phases video and like all kinds of stuff, and like all of that. Like, there's so much detail in all of the animation that you created, John, and it's so cool. It's like, I feel like I have to watch it over and over. You did such a good job. And Aaron, I love the Ace Attorney bit. I felt like I immediately recognized your style. Like, I saw in the credits that it said Aaron did illustrations, and I was like, oh, I wonder where they are. And then as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh, those are Aaron's. So that was really cool. Ooh, Also, I want to talk about the song that wasn't Sun. That was so fun. Thomas, you did such a good job with your venture into lyricism. I am obsessed with it. It's got such a it's so cool. I want to watch it over and over. I can't wait for it to come out on streaming services so I can just listen to it over and over. It's a bop. Joseph and Joan, you did such a good job, like, with the music. It, like I said, it's such a bop. I love it. And also, speaking of music, I mentioned this in my reaction, but there were so many cool, like, little, like, there was one part that I mentioned that was, like, the piano music that I really liked, but there were so many other ones that I also, like, really love. And I don't know, like, which ones, Connor, you did, but I love them. They're so good. Like, I would also stream those. If they ever go up on the streaming service, that would be cool. Like, especially the one piano one that I already mentioned. So I'm cutting my head off. I shouldn't do that. Of course, Talon, you're so talented. As always. I love your Deceit makeup. It's so cool. I love Deceit so much. Also, want to say a big thank you to everyone who edited this, so Tom and Joan and Cam. This must have taken so long to edit with all the extra, like, video game effects, and, like, you all, it's so cool. I'm not an editor, and so I'm sure many, like, other editors will have, like, more specific things to say, but I don't know any editing terms, so I just watch it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it, but I don't know how to, like, express that. But I do, I love it. Also, I love that we got to see Lee and Mary Lee. Diana and Alexander, you guys are great at Lee and Mary Lee. I love your performances. You're so cool. Also, Dalton returns as the wedding photographer, and Leslie Odom Jr. That was so surprising and so funny. I know, I laughed every time at that joke. You all had minor characters. I love you. Especially Lee and Mary Lee. You're so funny. I love the dynamic between you two. I love how you interact with Thomas because it really adds depth to his relationship with them. It also, yeah, it was really good that we got to see, I think, more of the relationship between Thomas and Lee and Mary Lee, because we didn't have a lot of context for who Lee and Mary Lee even were. Like, I feel like maybe if it, like, had been, like, go to Joan's special event, like, a lot of fanders would feel differently. But because it wasn't someone we had as much context for, maybe people undervalued the importance to Thomas of going to the wedding. And so getting to hear, like, oh, these are people who, like, always were there for him and he feels very close to, like, that really helped us understand, like, this is why it's so important to Thomas, to, like, why it's such a difficult decision, why it's not just like, oh, obviously go to the comeback. Because I feel like sometimes people acted like it should have been that way, and I don't think it should have. I think it really makes sense why this was such a dilemma. And also, I want to mention, Danilo, I hope you know how much theorizing your thumbnail has caused in this community. It's so funny. It's like this tiny little thing and everyone goes berserk. So thanks for that, dude. Oh, another thing with the writing that is really cool, or I guess not the writing, I guess with, like, just the design of the episode in general. Somebody on Tumblr said this. They said this is examples of Thomas wearing black and white while discussing issues with shades of gray. I love that you all pay attention to details like that. It's amazing. Especially in the Can Line Be Good episode, the skull changing depending on how Thomas feels, and, like, when Deceit shows up for the first time. Oh my gosh. Also, I was able to find that Tumblr post that predicted that Janice's name, and it's from the day that Can Lang Be Good came out. The exact day. Like, somebody from the very first introduction of Deceit predicted that his name would be Janice. So, nice one. Nice one, OP. Yeah, but I just really love that you pay attention to things like that. That's so cool. It's so symbolic and makes my little heart happy. One thing I also wanted to talk about is Thomas. You're such a brilliant actor. Like, I have just had to listen to the episode several times because I was editing this video. And so I didn't get to like see anybody's faces, and I can tell who's talking based only on their voice, because the voices for all of them sound so different. And like, it's something someone else pointed out is like for example, if Janice is impersonating someone else, he sounds like that person, but he sounds slightly off, like, because he's impersonating them. So that's like several layers right there. It's like, not only are you doing that other person's voice, but you're doing it in a way that another character would do it. Like, oh my gosh. That's so cool. Dude, that's amazing. One thing I do want to talk about, I'm so interested in how Remus and Virgil are going to react to what just happened. I have a feeling Virgil's gonna be V-mad. Because, you know, the last time we saw him, he literally hissed at Janice. And now, Patton and Thomas trust him? Oof. And I also wonder if Remus is gonna feel, like, betrayed at all. I don't know, we haven't really seen Remus and Janice interact. So, like, it's unclear exactly what the state of their relationship was, like, before. But I know a lot of fanders have, like, thought of them as, like, oh, they must be, like, friends. And, like, that doesn't necessarily have to be true, but if it was, would Remus feel betrayed by Janice, like, almost leaving? Again, this whole dark side, light side split, I don't think it's a real thing. I mean, it is, in as much as they perpetuate it, but it's not, like, any side of Thomas. Like, that's the whole point of, like, the past couple episodes, is, like, it's not like any side of Thomas is all good or all bad. So, like, why distinguish them in that way? And it also really makes sense that Roman was the one who came up with the term dark sides, because he's the one having the hardest time accepting that every side is not all good or all bad. Like, he wants Janice to be all bad, and he wants Patton to be all good. And when that's not true, especially since he was, like, dealing with intrusive thoughts, he was passed out on the floor while they had that similar conversation about Remus, so he didn't get, like, that kind of primer that Patton did to, like, maybe that was helping him, like, come to terms with the fact that that was also true of Janice. Roman didn't get that. Also, Roman is the one who's probably, except for if, like, depending on what we learn about Virgil's backstory, like, Roman is, from what we know of right now, the one who's been the most adversely affected by Janice, so of course he doesn't want to trust him. And of course he wants to think of him as the bad guy. Like, I feel so bad for Roman. Like, I'm also very mad at him, but I feel for laughing at Janice being so vulnerable. Like, oh my gosh. But also, like, I understand, because he's been manipulated by Janice. Janice pretended to be Patton and had him, like, try to lie to Joan. So Roman, of course, feels betrayed by that. And then in the next episode, Janice flattered Roman and, like, completely tricked him so that he would fall to a greater depth. So of course he feels like he shouldn't listen to Janice. Also, that one moment when Janice nods and then Roman gets upset, I really do think that Janice was trying to, like, be affirming, like, no, he's telling the truth. But because Roman, like, can't think of Janice is anything but a liar, he's like, well, that must mean that Thomas is lying, that I'm his hero, and that breaks my heart. And then seeing everyone's reactions to it and how, like, Janice looks taken aback. No, like, he's like, oh, I was trying to affirm you, and now you feel awful, and and it's like, okay, Janice, but you do have to understand that you've lied to Roman the most, so of course he's gonna think you're lying. Like, you can't just, like, you need to do something to make it right. Like, of course he's not gonna just immediately trust you. I don't know, I just want things to be okay. Anyway, those are most of my thoughts. I loved it. It was amazing. Janet, I am so surprised that, honestly, like, Janice has become, like, I have never really thought of him as, like, a bad guy. Like, from the beginning, I feel like I've said, like, he's not evil. I've even hesitated to call the others the dark sides, because I never liked that language, but, like, I didn't necessarily, like, love Janice that much, but now, oh my gosh, I love him so much. I love getting to see him in a role that isn't the antagonist. I love his interaction with Thomas and how dorky he is. Oh my word, I love him. Yeah, there's so many things in this episode that are like, oh. But soft Janice. Yeah, so good for my heart. Just everyone else, I'm like, oh no, I just want to give you a hug. Like, literally everyone else, like, Roman's insecure. Patton feels like he doesn't know anything. Virgil's probably gonna be bad. Logan feels like the others don't care about him. Remus might feel betrayed. Like, all of them, I'm just like, I just want to hug you. But at least Janice is getting to the point where Thomas trusts him. I don't think Thomas understands him completely at this point, or, like, why he exists. But he's getting there. He's taking baby steps. Anyway, I have been talking for 30 minutes. Oh my gosh. So, I'm gonna leave. Goodbye.